Hello, welcome to the Millionaire Woman Show, where we'll be discussing leadership, business, and human potential, inspiring you to live rich from the inside out. Unlock your creativity, stretch out of your comfort zone, break through your barriers, take inspired action, and achieve epic results. Now, here's your host, two-time best-selling author, speaker, and certified executive coach, Deborah Kasowski.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Millionaire Woman Show, where we talk about principles related to leadership, business, and human potential. And today, our special guest is Kamila Gornia, and she is the blow-up, scale-up marketing strategist who helps entrepreneurs blow up and scale up their businesses to be the true leaders online. By teaching her clients and community how to leverage their natural personalities into strategic marketing campaigns that are both profitable and fun. Kamila is proving over and over again that if you can dream it, you can achieve it. Welcome to the show, Kamila.
Thank you so much for having me, Deborah. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, I'm just going to jump right in. You mentioned that you started online marketing when you were 12 years old. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. So when I was 12, I had a computer for maybe a couple months at the time, and we got dial-up internet, and it was like the coolest thing ever. And what happened is that I somehow found these chat rooms, right? So back in the day we had chat rooms, and I was really into this thing called, it's manga. It's like Japanese comics. And I was basically the only kid in my entire small town in Poland that actually liked that. So then when I got into the chat room kind of thing, I realized that there's a lot of other people that actually like this kind of stuff too. So I realized there's other websites that are dedicated to this kind of stuff. So me being the very all right, let's do it person, I decided to create my own website too. And I did. And it was providing manga scanlations translated into Polish, because I lived in Poland at the time. And, I basically was doing marketing, even though I didn't really know that's what marketing was. I was just getting people to know about this thing that I had. And, it grew to 40,000 views within a couple months. So it's pretty cool. So that was my first marketing kind of venture thing.
That's exciting. And, it's kind of like you stumble upon this unknown thing and realize that you have this skill set, and it came to you very naturally.
Yeah. And it's funny because I didn't really know, I didn't really accept the fact that it came naturally to me, because I thought everybody could do it. I thought it was just it's just a thing. Somebody creates a website and then they tell other people. I thought it was just a natural thing that everybody did. So it actually wasn't. Even when I was in college, I didn't really accept the fact that I was good at marketing, because I studied psychology at first, and then I added on marketing. And finally later I was like, okay, well, I'm going to work at some agencies and see how that goes. And it worked really well. So
well, it's interesting because as I was listening to you, it sounds like there was some resistance along the way. Can you tell us a little bit more about where that resistance came from? And did you push it away for a long period of time before you realized that this was your gift?
Yeah, I definitely did. And I think it definitely comes from being an immigrant. It's, we're very hardworking people, and work has to be hard in order to deserve the results that we get. If we are to make a lot of money, we better have almost killed ourselves to make that happen. So for me, because marketing came so easily, I think it was just a thing that I learned from my parents, maybe my other family, but I was resistant to doing that because it came so easily. So if it was easy, how could I possibly make a lot of money? And I better go try all these other things that weren't super aligned, because then I'm struggling more, then I feel like I'm working harder. And then if I make money, then it makes me feel like I actually deserve it. So I had to do a lot of, definitely a lot of mindset work and work on myself to get over those beliefs, because they're obviously not true. But I'm sure, a lot of people that I've talked to have struggled with very similar things. So, glad it was good to hear that I'm not alone in that belief.
My grandfathers came from Ukraine. And I have learned that when they were, parenting my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Just recently, actually, I had asked my parents about their childhood more so, and about, you know, wanting to play on sports teams or wanting to play an instrument or things like that. And the same thing came up. They're like, their parents would say, well, that's not going to make you money. That's not important right now.
Oh my God. And you know what? When I think I was like 6 years old or something, because when I was a child, I used to draw all the time, and I was just really into drawing and art. And I remember there was a specific moment where my aunt basically said to me, oh, I'm so excited for you to be, you know, an artist, and, you know, you're going to have your art be known by other people. And I'm just like, no. I'm not going to be an artist, because artists don't make any money. I'm going to have a career where I can make a lot of money. So that shows from like how young of an age we really see these messages and how much they actually affect what we do. So
definitely do. And I actually want to touch on the immigrant mindset, because this is something like I was born in Canada, so North America. And the thing that I notice a lot is seeing that people who are born here sometimes don't work as hard as someone with an immigrant background or an immigrant mindset. And I think the immigrant mindset is some of the most successful people I've ever met. Can you just tell us about what that mindset is about, and how other people who are not immigrants, but how could they adopt that kind of mindset to really go after what they want?
Yeah, I think for immigrants, the thing that's different from people that are like native, like, you know, we're born in Canada or born in the US, as immigrants coming to these countries, we have to acclimate to our environment. So we're leaving our home country to go somewhere else to make a better life for ourselves. So we're making sacrifices. And a lot of times people that were born into, you know, they're native, you know, US people, I guess, or Canada, you know, a lot of people tend to kind of take it for granted that they live in an environment where they live in a country where there are a lot of opportunities. And for immigrants, we have to make sacrifices to be even in front of, or be even, you know, for it to even be possible for us to have these opportunities. So that's a big thing, is just making sacrifices. I'm not saying that everybody has to make sacrifices immediately and like go and do crazy things, but it's just that mindset that we're not taking things for granted because we did things, very specific things, to get us to where we are now. So I think that's a really big one. Another thing that's also a little bit different too is the fact, I mean, kind of going off of the fact that we don't take things for granted, but we really like work hard. And this is going off of my belief. And it's not necessarily that we have to work hard to make a lot of money, but we do work hard. We're hardworking people, because since we left all these things behind, well, we better make sure that we get what we wanted, right? Like we get what we left all these things for. So if it's money, if it's, you know, creating a new life for ourselves, we're actually like looking for a very specific goal and outcome, and we're a little bit more diligent when it comes to approaching that. So I think it's the same thing with anybody that was born in the US or Canada or whatever other country. Having that mindset is just, you know, setting very specific goals and knowing what that outcome is that we're looking to get. Because a lot of people tend to kind of just cruise through life and they don't really have goals that they want to achieve. And I think as soon as you start visualizing, being clear on what that life looks like, you can actually create very tangible, specific steps that you take in order to get that. So I think that's kind of the other thing as well.
Very true. So what can entrepreneurs do to show up as a brand and authority online?
I think the biggest thing for anybody that wants to be an authority and feels like they're an authority, I think first of all, it's that mindset piece again. So knowing that you know what you're talking about. Obviously, for somebody that's brand new and they don't really have enough experience in their industry or topic, I mean, that's kind of a different conversation because you need to have more experience in that topic. But for people that are like coaches, maybe they've been coaching for 15 years or even 5 years, or marketing people, or, you know, healers, or whoever else that has the experience, the first thing that people need to do is to actually allow ourselves to step into that authority mindset and know that we are authorities, but we first need to see us as authorities. And an authority is basically somebody who has their own opinions about the industry, has their own perspectives on things, teaches other people about that topic. So it's quite easy to step into that, but it's important that we first allow ourselves to feel that and feel as a leader. So that's the first step. The second step is actually to show up in a very strategic, specific way. So a lot of the, obviously what I tend to focus on is online marketing, but I've been kind of going beyond that. So it's how can you get yourself in front of more people and showing up and sharing your perspectives, sharing your theories, your, what you believe about your industry or what you don't think is right about your industry. And, that could be diligent posting on social media, that could be blogging, that could be live streaming, that could be showing up and doing speaking engagements, that could be doing your own events, that could be, writing a book. There's a lot of different ways for you to show up, but it's important that it's that consistency and it's making sure that you're diligent with it. And if you're doing it for a couple weeks and then you're not really seeing a lot of traction, you don't give up, you continue moving forward, because for somebody to be seen by everybody as an authority, it does take time. So I think that time factor is really important as well.
And I think people get really impatient because they think, if I build it, people are going to come. They're just going to naturally come. But what I've known in business is to consistently post, I'm just going to use myself as an example. On Mondays, I have Monday Mastery. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have a new podcast. Tuesdays are usually my interview days that come out. So yours will be coming out in the next couple of weeks here. And then Wednesday, I'll have a blog post. So there's always the same thing that people can expect. Mm-hmm. And I think that's also living up to some of those expectations, because if people hear from you randomly, they're wondering what's going on and they're not sure of, is she for real or is she not?
Right. Right. I think the other thing too is that a lot of times somebody, I'll take like one of my students, for example, they're going to be following a strategy or showing up for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. And then they make the decision, this doesn't work. It's, nothing has changed, but hasn't it? I mean, things have probably changed, unless you were talking in like a private Facebook group with just you. Things have been shifting, but what happens is that we are so used to comparing ourselves to others. So we see these success stories and we see, oh my gosh, how is this person getting, 1 million views on their live stream where I'm getting, 35 views per video. And we tend to compare ourselves, and, it's really unfair to us to compare ourselves to somebody that has already been like where we want to be, because everybody has to go through that process. And even for some people who have grown significantly faster, because there are specific people who have, they started their business and 6 months later.
Oh, sorry, everyone. We're just having a few technological things going on. Kamila's in San Diego and she was having some internet troubles. So we're hoping that she'll pop back on here right away. Oh, there she is.
Oh, what happened?
We just had a little technical glitch. So I just let our listeners know that you will be back, and I just fill in some space here. So
okay.
I'll let you go back to, that mindset of comparing people to others and, how it halts them, and where you were going with that.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people tend to, we see the influencer or somebody that we admire and they're already, huge, or even if they blew up super fast, let's say like there's some people out there that within months they're, 6 figures, even 7 figures. And we compare ourselves because it's taking us much longer to do that. And what's important to know is that we don't know what's been happening behind the scenes. And it's possible that these people maybe already have connections because they already have maybe they had a previous business and they're utilizing these connections to grow their current business. Or maybe they had a big Facebook ad budget and maybe they just had all this money to throw on ads, and that's how they got all these views and that's how they were able to grow their business. We don't really know what's happening behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. So it's really important that we don't compare ourselves. And we just are diligent. We keep going. We're consistent. And then eventually something's going to happen where the right person sees our stuff. They're going to share with others and it's going to kind of start from there. But it's not going to be immediate.
So tell us, what does your blow up, scale up marketing method look like?
Yeah. So my blow up scale up method is basically comprised of 5 different levels. So it's basically based on where you are in business. And then there's very specific things that you need to focus on depending on each level that you're at. So we're starting with the think up phase. And this is for people that don't really have businesses yet. They have to really do a lot of the market research, make sure that their business idea is viable, maybe creating their first program and things like that. And just getting some of these first, first kind of, getting the feet wet, if you will. Personally, I don't work with people in the think up stage because they don't really need marketing yet. They just need to do more experience around business. So that's the first phase. The second stage or phase, or whatever you want to call it, is the setup. So the setup phase is where we are setting up some of the first foundation. So you're getting some of your first clients and you're creating programs and you're setting up these foundations for growing your list, for getting out there. And it's a lot of the, when people are going from, okay, I'm going to be an authority and, health, for example, and then actually doing that. And that, each phase can take different amounts of time. It really depends on each person, but that's kind of what happens in that phase. You're growing your list, you're doing some of your first webinars or speaking engagements or whatever, and starting to really establish yourself as that authority. Then we get into the blow up phase. So the blow up phase is where you're actually doing a good job. You've had clients, and now it's time for us to make sure that you get booked solid with clients, and so that you set the stage for being able to leverage yourself and create more leveraged offers and more automation, which is in the scale up phase. But a lot of it here is, more publicity, just consistent visibility, but more like amped up visibility. So sometimes we would use paid traffic to get even more people to see us. But that's kind of what happens in the blow up phase. And then we get into the scale up phase, and the scale up phase is where we do more automation, leverage. Typically people around the scale up phase are they're definitely past the 6-figure mark. They're in their multiple 6 figures, and they're setting the foundations to have more easier streams of revenue coming in, and being able to hire more contractors and being able to kind of leverage themselves in that way. And then we get into the free up phase. So the free up phase is when people are right around 7 figures or past 7 figures. So this is where, you have an actual team of people that are employees, and you have a bigger company, and you're doing just bigger things. So it's a completely different mindset, and you're also focusing on different things because you're focusing more on building that team and really hiring good talent so that you can scale into like 8 figures and onwards as well. So that's my model.
So that's pretty powerful, to go from that blow up to scale up, and then, to that free up, because then what I hear is that you're not working in your business. You're actually just working on it and showing up as that authority that you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it varies too, because every business model is different too. So the exact things that you're going to be doing in each phase is going to differ based on even if you're a coach, for example, if someone that's listening is a coach, your steps are still going to look differently, because if you as a 7-figure business is you still working with one-on-one clients, that's going to look differently than for somebody that wants to have a branded company where they have coaches and then they're just working on the business as the CEO. So it's really important that we understand how we want to grow and how we want our ideal business to look like, and then use these different phases to make sure that we're supporting that overall vision, that overall goal.
Mm-hmm. And tell us more about the vision. Like, is there a process that you use with people to find out what that vision is first before you start going into the blow up and scale up phase?
Yeah. So the biggest, I don't really have a process per se, but typically the people that I work with already know that, thankfully, but there are specific questions that I like to ask just to clarify that. So the biggest thing that I want to make sure that I know is how, once you're already, big and people know your company, do you want to remain the face of the company, or do you want to just have a brand where you can kind of step back and be the CEO? That's a really important thing, because how you show up and how you do your visibility is going to differ if you want to remain that influencer that like you versus a bigger company. So that's a big thing that I ask. Another thing that I ask is, how do you want your team to look like moving forward? So there's a lot of people that are solopreneurs, and that's totally great. But are you the type of person that wants to have a bigger team where you want to have an in-person like office and have an actual place where people go and do the work and you can see them working? Or do you really value that freedom lifestyle where you can work from anywhere, you have contractors, and they're just doing kind of things here and there and moving forward from that end? That's another thing I'd ask. Another thing that I ask also is, do you actually like teaching? Do you like nurturing your people? Do you like having a community? Because if you don't, you're going to be doing different things than for somebody that thrives on having a community or thrives on, doing courses and, programs that, which are great leveraged way of getting new people in the door. But for somebody that wants to just have more of an agency style of a company where, they're coming in and they're working with your team members and you're just kind of overseeing, that's going to be different as well. So these are some of the things that I ask my clients, and they tend to just kind of go on little bits of tangents, which I love because that's where we really start to see how exactly that looks like. But having a clear vision and like being able to actually visualize that, like when I say vision, I mean you actually see how it looks like when you're at that level. That's really important because we want to make sure that we're putting the right elements in place to support that.
I was I'm listening to the audio of the EMyth right now with Michael Gerber, and he talks about a coaching client that he's working with and really drawing out every single detail of what they want a world-class company to look like. So what I hear is when you're asking those questions, you're creating that picture, that visual image of what do they really see? So that you can tap into that and help be a part of that.
Right. I actually, it's kind of interesting, but I actually don't work with clients unless I can visually see the vision of what is possible for them. So this is why I ask the questions, and the more I can see, and it's kind of, I would say it's like an energy thing too, where they really commit to their vision. They're able to describe a lot more, and then I'm able to see it in a much bigger and easier way. So I'm a very visual person, but if I don't know what the people want to have, like how they want it to look like, and they're just kind of like, well, I just want to make money. I just want to get 7 figures. Okay, that's awesome. But like, that doesn't tell me anything. And unless they can really describe what that looks like for them, what that means for them, I don't work with those people because I need to be excited about who I work with. And then I know I'm going to do my best work. Because for me, just monetary results, I mean, it doesn't excite me as much as actually realizing somebody's vision and allowing them to grow in that bigger way.
So 2 things came up for me, and one I'm just going to jump on right away here is you said you don't work with just everyone. And what advice can you give for entrepreneurs who are building their businesses about working with everyone and not working with some people, even though, it might come down to money?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is that in the beginning, I would recommend you work with all the people so that you know who you don't like working with, because the only way that you'll know who you like working with versus who you don't like working with is by actually working with them, right? So who are the clients that have been like super lighting you up? What is it about them that made you so amazed and so excited? And then which of the clients were not so exciting, and why were they not so exciting for you to work with? And it doesn't have to be necessarily a mismatch in terms of niche and all these marketing terms. Like, it's not even about that. I think it's really about the energetic, connection in a way, because that's just what I call it. But we need to make sure that we resonate with the client, and we need to make sure that we can actually enroll ourselves in their vision, and they need to know what that vision is. So I know there's a lot of people that struggle with, I struggle with niching myself or being more, I only work with these people versus these people because we want to make money. And I totally get that. But I think, obviously in the beginning, yeah, you could just to get that experience of understanding. But later on, when you are more specific with who you work with, you can actually charge more money, which supports you even more in growing that business and being the authority. Because if everybody knows that you work with anybody, that doesn't really make you very exclusive and doesn't make people as excited to work with you either. If someone was to come to me and they're like, hey, Kamila, I have $20,000 and we're going to work together. It doesn't really show people that I walk the talk, because for me, again, it's important that I get excited, I understand why they're doing what they're doing, and I know I can actually support them. So I think it definitely helps for anybody that wants to have a sustainable business. And that's the biggest key. If you want to have a sustainable business that stays with you for years, then that's a really good thing. If you just want to have money now and you're not quite sure if you want to grow your business, then obviously you're going to be approaching it differently. But hopefully everybody that's here is not in the I just want to make money now and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because people can tell. People can
Yeah.
really tell in the delivery of your business if you're just there to make money or you're really there and you care about them.
Yes. And it's a lot of people are like that out there. And it's very, very clear when they are, because they're going to be the ones that are chasing trends, and they're, oh, so everybody's, talking about whatever, X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to start talking about that now too. And they're just jumping on trends. They're just trying to get anything possible just to make more money. And I think it's great to want to earn more money. I think it's important that we have good lifestyles and stuff, but it's also important that we do it for the right reasons, and we're actually supporting ourselves and our clients as well. Because a lot of people are just, and I hear these stories from people all the time where somebody wants to work with a coach or some kind of a company, and then they don't really deliver on what they promised, or they disappear, and then they're still selling something else. And I think that your reputation is going to be very, very much damaged. That's the first thing, and that's the most obvious thing. But secondly, I think karma is so real, and it's definitely going to come back around for these people too.
Yeah. And earlier you also talked about committed, and even with the mentor I work with, we talk about being committed versus interested in the vision. How are you able to tell how committed somebody is versus being interested in their vision?
I think the biggest thing is, if you're committed, I don't want to say the word sacrifice again, but kind of. So for example, for my clients that are moms, and they have to wake up early and, make sure that their kid gets to school and all that stuff. Maybe they're waking up even earlier to work a little bit on their business before they go to work. Maybe they also have a 9-to-5. So it is kind of making sacrifices, because you're finding the time, you're finding the energy to work on what you're passionate about, what you're committed to doing. And the people that commit, and the people that find the time, and the people that don't make excuses and just give up because it's hard, those are the people that succeed.
And as a mom myself, I totally related to your story. And I wrote a book called The Entrepreneurial Mom's Guide to Growing a Business, Raising a Family, and Creating a Life You Love. And one of the things that I know for a fact is moms always get a second win when they're after their dreams. When you light up, that energy comes from places you didn't even know you had.
Yeah.
So how can coaches, consultants, and other service-based owners begin generating more income without spending more time?
So this is where it kind of goes into the time investment versus money investment, because we always have to make an investment to grow. It's just something that happens, right? So if you don't want to spend more time, you're going to have to spend more money, usually. As you are a little bit further in your business, you can start leveraging partnerships as well. So that is neither time nor money, although kind of money, because you might have to pay them commission and affiliate fees and things like that. But typically, the easiest way for anybody, especially if you don't have connections quite yet, is to just go into advertising and either hire somebody to do your ads for you, or try your hand on, with ads on your own. But that's probably the fastest way for you to grow your list, get yourself in front of more people without spending any extra time. And that's obviously a part of what we do in my company. But I'm a big believer in that, because, I don't want to be sitting in front of my computer 24/7. I'm all for hustle, but let's be honest. Let's be smart about this. Yeah.
Yeah. It's about having that balance of different things.
Yes.
So I'm really wanting to ask you about the sales funnel piece. So what is the simplest way to start using a sales funnel in your business? What are some of the steps that you could use?
So I will say this. If you have a business, you have a sales funnel. And a sales funnel is basically the journey that people are taking from being a stranger and becoming a lead and a prospect to becoming a customer, and then a repeat customer, or a client, or, a repeat client. So if that has been happening in your business, that is already a sales funnel that's happening. But typically when people talk about sales funnels, they talk about the more automated way, the more, how do I set the landing pages and the email sequences and all the things? And that's great. I would say for somebody that doesn't have any sales funnels in place quite yet, the easiest way to know how to set yours up is understanding, who do you want to enroll? Is it a customer? Is it a client? What kind of client is it? And working backwards. So before this person becomes a buyer, what has to happen? And then it's different for everybody. Maybe it's going to a checkout page and then entering their credit card information. Maybe it's getting on the phone and you collecting that credit card information on the phone. So you have to go backwards. So in order for them to be at that step, what has to happen before that? So maybe it's being sent to a sales page. Maybe it's being sent to a scheduling link or something else. So again, you're working backwards. Now, how are you getting these people there? And that could be a Facebook ad. That could be an email. Typically, it's an email. And the simplest way, if it's just a very, very simple funnel, people are opting in, getting onto your list in some way. Then somehow they're being introduced to the fact that, hey, we can actually work together in some capacity. And maybe that's an offer that you have. Maybe it's, hey, let's hop on a phone. And it can be very simple with just an opt-in, getting onto the list with downloading something really easy and simple, couple of emails that are introducing you to this person plus inviting them for the next step. And then that's what happens after that next step. So that's probably the simplest way to kind of explain it. And you can use any technology, anything to make it happen. Now, when people kind of start growing and they want to automate everything and they have multiple programs and offers that they want to sell, it becomes quite a bit more complicated, I would say, and definitely more techy as well. But for most people, it doesn't have to be complicated. I'm a really big fan of not overcomplicating your marketing unless you have the capacity or the team or, the know-how to do it or just the willingness to do it. But a lot of times it's just, you can get the same results, if not better, by just keeping things simple.
So what is the one thing that you see that entrepreneurs and business owners aren't doing in their marketing that they should be doing?
I think the biggest thing would be, so it kind of goes into a couple of things. The first thing is nurturing your people. So this is actually where I fell in that bucket a while ago, where I would focus on growing the list. I would focus on growing my community. And then I wasn't doing a very good job with nurturing them. And nurturing them, it doesn't have to be anything complicated. It could be just a series of emails that get them introduced to you. But the reason why I fell into that camp, if you will, is because I made it very much focused on here's the content, buy a thing, which is basically a funnel. But what I've started doing a couple of months now is shifting into that authority self. So we're creating that connection with people. We're creating transparency. We're creating an actual relationship. So in order for our relationship to be formed, we have to get a little bit vulnerable. So a lot of that is maybe sharing a video where you shared about your story or you shared something that happened that doesn't necessarily have to do with your industry, but you somehow tie it back to your industry. So video is a big thing. So it's kind of going into that because it's a great way to nurture people, but it's that connection. It's that relationship that you're building. It's that bond that's being created between you and the person. Because a lot of people, they just look at the numbers and they say, oh my gosh, I only got, 100 people this week and onto my list. When we don't really visualize that 100 people is actually a lot of people. If I looked in this room that I'm in right now, it would be like they wouldn't even fit in this room. So it's kind of looking at them as people versus as just numbers. And that's something that a lot of people forget to do as they're growing their business. So that's one of the things. And the second thing is something that we already talked about, which is balancing the manual work, the time investment with the money investment piece for growing your business. So a lot of people just do referral marketing or they just do just reaching out to people, and they kind of forget that if they only spent, a couple of dollars per day on advertising, they could actually get even more out there in front of more people. So it's how can you balance that scale a little bit so you're getting the best results and you're not having to work as hard. And then the flip side, it's people who only do advertising, only do paid traffic, but they don't do anything manually. And the reason why that's not good either is because there's none of that energetic commitment. You're not showing up energetically for people, and then they can see that too, which is why a lot of things that are more automated don't convert as well as things that are live, and it's because of that energy piece. So if you're only doing ads and you're not doing anything yourself showing up, that's also not very good. So it's important to have a balance of the two. So yeah, I think those are probably the biggest ones that I can think of right now.
And what platforms do you think that business owners, our listeners, our viewers here on YouTube, what are some of the methods? We have Facebook Live, we have Instagram video, we have, the YouTube videos. What is the best thing? Is there a best thing, or should they be leveraging a little bit of all of it, or what works for them?
So I wouldn't say do it all, because that can be really overwhelming. Just make sure you have an account and all the platforms, and that's typically enough. I would pick one or two and then just go crazy with those. So for most people that I tend to work with, Facebook is a good one. And the reason why Facebook is a good one is because everybody is on Facebook. And unless you have a very strange, company where you work with, I don't even know, something very, very like industrial or something, which those are my clients, then maybe Facebook is not a good fit. But for most people, if you work with people, yes, Facebook can be a really good platform. I think for YouTube tends to have a little bit of a younger base. So it's also understanding about your ideal client and like what age are they, where do they actually hang out. So if you, for example, are hanging out on Periscope all the time, and Periscope, I don't even know if people still use Periscope, but maybe your people aren't really on there. It's just understanding who tends to be on a different platform more than others. But I don't think we have to, again, I'm not into overcomplicating it. It's just, picking one or two, or, if you're feeling ambitious, 3, and then just forgetting about the rest. Or maybe if you want to check it once in a while, great. But, I'm on Facebook basically 95% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I have accounts on all the other ones, and I'll randomly post something on LinkedIn, or I'll randomly tweet something. I used to use Twitter a lot more. I don't use it as much now. Instagram, I'm on maybe sometimes. I do go on there. I just use Instagram stories, but it's more for like, just want to share things. I don't know if it's really helping my business. It's not really why I'm using it either.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it doesn't have to be complicated.
So one of the things with all these different forms of social media, and I hear about, let's just focus on one or two things. And so what's your view on using Buffer and HootSuite and all that, or should we be posting live content?
Again, I think it's a balance. I think it's a little bit of both. And if you're doing it just live, then obviously you become a little bit more restrained with the time that you have, because, well, what if we forget, or what if, whatever, things come up. But on the flip side, if we're only using these scheduling tools, all the ones that you mentioned and others, then again, there's that missing piece of, our energetic commitment to our people. And, on the flip side, on the other flip side, I guess I've already said that word like 5 times, but because there's so many sides to every story, right? But you also want to make sure that you're like helping yourself. So if there's very specific things that you can schedule, like maybe you have a Facebook group and every Friday you do like Follow Friday, or maybe every Saturday you do like, hey guys, let's tell me what's going on. If it's the same thing that you're doing every single, like a theme that you're doing every single day, like it's okay to schedule that, because people can expect it and they understand. But for things that are a little bit more vulnerable, or you're just sharing something from the heart, or a story that you want to share, I think it's better if it's written live, just so it has more of that connection piece. And I think a lot of people don't really believe in that energy piece, but I think I've seen it work. And even though it sounds like what are you talking about, Kamila, but it really does make a difference. So yeah, I think it's a balance.
And the vulnerability piece, I know people in business, they get kind of scared about how vulnerable do I get? Do I have to go really deep, or is it just situational, like where you can leverage that information of what you're sharing about that vulnerability and really targeting it to a message? What has been your experience with vulnerability in business?
I think it's essential for anybody that wants to be an authority, like as a personal brand, because we connect with other people. If we pretend that we're these ideal human beings that never have any struggles, never have any emotional breakdowns, or, don't have any flaws, well, it's going to be really hard for people to really relate to you. And it's not a very healthy relationship either when people think that you're this ideal person. And, it's different to admire someone, but it's important that I think it's just how I kind of see relationships in general. It's important to show all sides of ourselves, and that's how we really make that connection. So it is essential. I think it is essential, especially nowadays. And people are very smart. They're very savvy. If they see a company not sharing like behind the scenes even, or just what's going on. And, you know, for example, if you're going on a webinar and technology is just not on your side, and you just tell people and you say, listen, it's just not working. I don't know what's going on, but you know what? It happens to the best of us. People are often going to understand, because yes, it does happen to a lot of us. It's happened to like everybody, I think.
Yeah.
But when we try to make up some excuse, it's like, oh, we got the time wrong or something crazy. Well, it's just, you know, it's a mismatch again. It's the energetic mismatch, but it's just, we're not being real to ourselves. And I am a big fan of treating our audience as we would treat our family.
Yes.
So.
Absolutely. I'm all about that too. Everybody that I've ever worked with, they end up feeling like family, whether they're a contractor, whether they're a guest, you know, like I interviewed John Lee Dumas a few weeks ago, and it was like, Deb, when we meet in person, we'll hug it out. You know, and I look forward to meeting you in person too, Kamila, so that we can hug it
likewise. Yes. And I think it's so important, because if we get excited about our people, they feel that, and then they have that connection to us. And then, you know, if we have some kind of offer, and not to bring it back to sales, but, you know, if we have some kind of offer, they're going to be thinking of you sooner than they are of somebody else that they don't have that connection with. So from the business perspective, it makes a lot of sense, but also just from like karma, and like we have more fun, and you know, we're being social, especially when you're working from home, or you know, you're not really leaving your office very much. I think it's really amazing to be able to connect with somebody and like do video chats and feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm you know, you get enrolled into what they're doing, and then you know, when you do meet in person, it's even better. So yeah, I totally agree.
And it's what I find really cool is I'll go up to events. Just recently, I went to a networking event, and I had someone come running up to me, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, hi, how are you?" And I was like, looking at them for a minute. They're like, "We're on Facebook, we're friends," and I'm like, "Awesome."
That's awesome. Yeah,
they feel like they already know you. They have that connection. And another time I was talking with another lady, we were talking about social media, and she was talking away. And I said, you know, this is actually the first time we've ever met. And she goes, oh my gosh, I feel like I already know you. So all of those barriers when you're on social media, or you share some of that vulnerability and people start connecting, where you talk about that nurturing and that connection, it makes a big difference. And I don't think people are necessarily leveraging that enough.
I totally agree.
So you talk about the ads. Let's talk about what are some important things to keep track of when people run those Facebook ads?
Okay, let's get a little technical. So the biggest thing is, whenever you're running any kind of Facebook ad, any paid traffic in general, is being clear on what it is that you're tracking in terms of the results. So if it's opt-ins, if it's like signups for, you know, a checklist that you have running, then make sure that you track that and you optimize for that. If you created some kind of video, you just want more people to see it for brand awareness, then track that and make sure that your objective is very closely tied to that specific result that you're tracking. So that's the first thing that I'll mention. So from there, that's the first thing that we're looking at, is how many results are you getting, whether it's opt-ins, whether it's registrations, purchases, whatever it is that your Facebook ads are optimized for getting. First thing, how much are you actually paying for that? So cost per result. And, you know, it's going to vary based on what it is that you're optimizing for. If you're getting purchases, then they might be a little bit more expensive than, you know, simple opt-ins or video views. Like those are super cheap. But again, make sure that you know how much you're spending, and then test a couple of different ad sets or different audiences to see which one tends to convert best, or which one is...
And we just have a little bit of a glitch again, but as we do on the Millionaire Woman Show, it's all about rolling with it. So just stay tuned with us here. Kamila, Gornia will be right back. Again, I just want to remind you that Kamila Gornia is a blow-up sales marketing expert, scaling it up. And she is telling you about many of the strategies. And I'm just going to take a moment because seems to be a good time to tell you about my book that's coming out in September 2017. It's called Let's Be Curious, How to Ask the Right Questions to Get Better Answers so you can make the best decision. Many people are asking questions that are face value, and we are not getting to the meat of the thing. And the thing is, when you ask questions, there's always going to be more questions to be asked. And so knowing that it's a cyclical thing and it continues on and on, and, you know, being curious and trying to gain understanding of where people are coming from, or getting more information about something that you are purchasing or wanting to share with others, is really important. And this book is going to help transform the way people approach the world. And Kamila is back here with us. So I was just giving them a segue, talking about my new book that's coming out. So it just seemed like a good time to jump in. And the thing you were talking about, the measuring of the Facebook ads, one of the things that comes to mind when we're talking about that is, I don't know if people are measuring as much as they should be about getting results.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's kind of where I was talking about the webinar signups before I was kicked out for some reason, is looking at the purchases that you're getting too. And it's kind of going deeper beyond just what you see on the very front end, if you will. So which of the audiences, which of the ads are actually getting you the results, and how much are you paying per purchase or per, sign up to schedule a call with you. And it's tracking a little bit beyond just the initial result, the initial thing that you're tracking. So that's a really important thing. And it's kind of, it's just going a little bit beyond, and it takes you a little bit past the just the Facebook ad, and seeing how people are engaging with you and how well your other marketing materials are doing. But that's a really important thing to look at too. But I think the biggest key is just to keep testing, and split testing is a big one. So, testing different audiences against each other, and testing different images that you're running, and different ad copy that you're running. And it's, that's kind of what advertising is in general, is tweaking things and just doing different things and seeing which one works best for you. So, that's kind of what we're going after whenever we're running ads.
So what is the difference between paid and organic traffic, and when should we focus on each?
So I think it's important that you have both. So paid traffic is obviously traffic that you pay for. So that's Facebook ads, Google ads, Twitter ads, whatever else that you want to pay, typically within social media. Most of the people that I work with tend to go after social media ads because that's where the people hang out. Organic is something that takes a little bit longer to set up or to get or of. So SEO is a big part of that. So when you're doing like blogging and things like that, it's optimizing it for keywords. So if somebody types something into Google, your article shows up. Now it takes much longer for that to work. And a lot of times, this is something that actually happened to me, where I wrote very specific blog posts to optimize for keywords. So if somebody is searching for a specific phrase on Google, my article would show up. But it's not necessarily that these people are ideal clients either. So a lot of these people might be searching for that keyword because maybe they're a marketer, and just marketing professionals are not my clients, because I work with more people that have their own businesses. So it's kind of being aware of that. But it does take time. It can take months of optimizing and then creating these types of content. So that's another piece. I think the other aspect of organic traffic that's great is going viral. So we always want to go viral with anything that we do, and it's definitely more of an art than a science. And it could be creating some kind of an engaging video and then getting that shared. But the thing that happens with virality is that you might go viral, but it might, again, not bring you the right people. Again, it might just be generally not liked and generally like, oh, it's entertaining, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be your people. So that's why I think it's important to have a balance. With paid traffic, you can absolutely target exactly the people that you want to have. With organic, it's a little bit more like a wild horse, where you never know where it's going to go. You never know who's going to be in front of it. And, that's why I think it's important to have both.
Excellent. So we've come near the end of our interview, but I wanted to just let you share with everyone how they can stay in contact with you. Tell more about who is your ideal client.
Yeah. So my ideal client are, I work with both men and women, but it's definitely entrepreneurs who see themselves as wanting to be authorities, or they are authorities. So people that, are doing what they're doing for a bigger message, for a bigger vision than just making money. And they want to impact the world. They have some kind of they feel like they have a gift, skill, passion that can really help the world or their clients and things like that. So most of the people that I tend to work with do tend to be service-based, and they have online-based businesses, but they want to grow beyond that. So, all the things that I talked about before, like more leveraged income and doing events and all these different things, if that is exciting, then it might be possible that you might be a good client for me. So that's a little bit from that sense. But yeah, I'm basically all on Facebook all most of the time. But it's KamilaGornia.com. So that's my website. But I also have a very special something for anybody that's watching and listening. So that's you can grab that by going to KamilaGornia.com/millionaire woman.
Excellent. Thank you so much for giving that for our guests.
Yeah, it's a training on creating repeatable systems to get more clients, more dream clients, and have a really good system that gets you more visibility as an authority.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, Kamila, for coming on the Millionaire Woman Show podcast. Again, we talk about leadership, business, and human potential. And I would love to hear, and I'm sure Kamila would love to hear, how some of the nuggets that you have started applying in your business, your life, just strategy-wise, of what can change for you, that shift that she was talking about, those little shifts that really make the biggest difference. And really starting to focus on measuring the results that you want to get. It's all about measuring up to those objectives that she talked about. Because if you're not measuring it, you can't manage it. Mm-hmm. So we'd love to have you go over to iTunes, write us a review, give us a 5-star high five, and let us know how you love the show. We look forward to having you on the next Millionaire Woman Show podcast. As Muhammad Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. And my ad is make today great. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.